Hi everyone, I'm Alina Nadeem, a sophomore in METU in Meteorological and Materials Engineering, and today I will be reviewing John Steinbeck's book of Mice and Men. So the story really revolves around two characters named George and Lenny. Out of them, George is the one who's clever, whereas Lenny is the one who's physically strong. The story starts off with both of them traveling from their previous workplace where they were kicked out of to a ranch where they are now going to work. Both of them, George and Lenny, they want to make enough money at this ranch in order to buy a small farm of their own. That's what their dream really is. The story then, as they reach the ranch, the story really builds on how they meet other characters, their interactions with them, and how George and Lenny constantly have each other's back through thick and thin, whereas other characters, they're on their own and they have no one to really count on. One of the major themes of the book was basically Lenny's underlying mental health illness. Even though it wasn't really discovered at that time because the book was written in 1937, but it can be seen that Lenny actually has some underlying mental health illness. This is because of Lenny's behavior and his reactions to things. For example, Lenny actually constantly liked to pet soft things, or he behaved like a 4-year-old constantly, even though he was a grown-up man. He constantly relied on George for making decisions for him, and to the extent for even speaking up for him. Another theme that the book really touched upon was racism. We see this when Lenny actually interacts with Crooks, who was a stable buck at the ranch. Stable buck is someone who looks after the horses. So we see that Crooks is actually a black man who faced racism in his life before the ranch, and even life as he is a stable buck on the ranch as well, to the extent that the other men who are working on the ranch, they don't want Crooks to actually stay in their room because he's a black man. So one of my favorite elements of the book was the descriptive element of how descriptive the book really was. The description was really vivid. I felt like I was there on the ranch itself. I was there with Lenny and George as they were traveling to the ranch, and I really liked that. Another element that I really liked was the friendship of George and Lenny. In a world where people are constantly lonely and they don't have anyone to really count on and to trust, George and Lenny, they had each other's back through thick and thin, and they were constantly there for each other through ease and through hardship both. However, there was an element that I was really displeased with, and that was Curly's wife. Curly's wife, even though she's a really big fool, I really didn't like the fact that the author didn't give her a name. She was constantly referred to as Curly's wife. She was the only female character really in the book, besides Aunt Clara, who was just mentioned. She wasn't really a character. So Curly's wife was the only female character in the book, and she didn't have a name. This actually shows author's underlying sexism itself, so I really didn't like that at all. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I do encourage you to read it if you haven't, and if you have read it, comment down below of how you found Of Mice and Men to be. Thank you very much for listening.